When a fighter is told to protect themselves at all times, many seemingly just brush this off, ready to go to war with their opponent until one of them has had their lights turned out for good.
Sensational, shocking, one-punch knockout of a normally iron-chin, top-notch fighter.
As us fight fans watch on with anticipation with what is about to unfold at our eyes when the first bell is rung, many of us have our go-to fighters that bring nothing to the sport of boxing but just all-action affairs as they take brutal damage as a consequence. There is nothing like seeing a brutal knockout unfold at our eyes.
Shots, as well as taking away his energy. Right hand shot by Canelo.
Here we will begin the episode of when unbreakable chins get broken by starting with no other than Evander Real Deal Holyfield. The record-setting 4-time heavyweight champion fought a who's who of the heavyweight division back in one of the division's true golden eras back in the 1990s. The undeniable warrior made the lofty jump into the shark-infested waters of the heavyweight division after becoming the undisputed champion back down at cruiserweight. Holyfield would go on to take all what was offered by some of the biggest punchers that the sport had ever seen in George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, and even took everything that Mike Tyson had to throw at him before he would cement his place as one of the sport's toughest boxers when he was best Tyson.
What a perfect fight. No matter what happens from here on in, we have Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig it. A left hook to the head. He's going to Tyson and go. A straight right hand. The top and stops the fight.
Holyfield brought us nothing but sheer enjoyment as he would go to war with anyone who was stupid enough to do so. The true rivalry that made Evander so synonymous to the sport of boxing would be that of his trilogy with Riddick Big Daddy Bo. The two were 1-1 following two of the most action-packed and truly bizarre fights that the sport had ever seen, as in their second encounter a man flew into the arena via a parachute only to miss the ring, which caused a delay to the fight lasting 21 minutes.
There's been a parachutist, a skydiver, has just landed here at ringside.
With the fight being awarded in Holyfield's favour, with the judges scoring the fight 114-114 and 115-113, meaning that if the round that the fan man incident had happened in was awarded to Bo, we would have had a completely different outcome. A rubber match would be set when the two had picked up where they had left off from by trading leather with one another until in the 6th round the seemingly iron-chinned Holyfield would be knocked out for the first time in his career.
He's coming forward. Here comes Holyfield, but he gets caught by a short right. He's hurt, Joe. He is hurt badly. 8. He might. 9. Joe Cortez trying to come back. Holyfield, good left hook. Holy cow! What a turnaround! Can you believe this? Now that. 7. Just when you think he's getting beat. You all right?
In 2004, Roy Jones Jr. was on top of the sport as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, following a decade of dominance, which saw him capture world titles from middleweight all the way up to the land of the giants in the heavyweight division. Roy was viewed by many to be the greatest fighter that the sport had ever seen since Sugar Ray Robinson, bringing Roy's story back to the climax of his career when he became heavyweight champion when he dethroned then WBA champion John Ruiz.
All three in favor of the winner, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Roy had looked to close out his career with a blockbuster showdown against Mike Tyson, even entering the fight as a 2-1 betting favourite. In the lead up to his fight with Ruiz, Roy's long-term rival and then light heavyweight champion Antonio Tarver would be there calling for his shot at Roy as he believed that he was the best at 175.
Ranked in the top 10. He didn't beat nobody, beat number 1 contender.
Now, I can go on and on about the dead man he fought, but he claimed when I was #1, I wasn't worthy.
Roy would answer Tarver's challenge in November of 2003 by beating Tarver on points after the destructive weight cut. Since this was the first time that Roy had not looked his superhuman self, an immediate rematch would be arranged for May of 2004, with many believing that Roy would close out his career with another win over Tarver, until the legend of Roy Jones Jr.'s invincibility would come crashing down with a left hook from the gods in the second round, which would see Roy KO'd for the first time, leaving him never to be the same fighter ever again.
You have any questions? I got a question. You got any excuses tonight, Roy? And down goes Jones on a hard left hand. Jones may not get up. It's over. And that's amazing.
You're gonna do it right. Get out the game.
When you think of all-time greats of the sport, for many the name of Bernard Hopkins is high up on that list. The Philadelphia native would go on to, time after time, defy his critics by becoming the oldest ever world champion and unified world champion in boxing history. The former undisputed middleweight champion of the world had been on the comeback trail following a loss to Sergey Kovalev, in which he would drop his unified crown, so he would take on the up-and-coming light heavyweight star in Joe Smith Jr., who burst onto the scene with a stunning first round knockout over Fonfara. Hopkins knew that a win here would firmly put him back in contention for a crack at the light heavyweight title. Hopkins in the fight had looked good in spells, whilst utilising his awkward Philly style to disrupt Smith's rhythm. Hopkins would lose to Smith via a TKO when he was knocked out of the ring in the 8th round and failed to make it back into the ring as referee made an unanswered 20 count.
Two possible opponents.
Oh, big right hand.
He's out. Oh, out three. Oh, God.
20 seconds to get back in. If he can get back in 20 seconds, he's not knocked out. I don't think he's aware of that.
And he's being assisted. He's being assisted.
When it comes to the conversation about who would have beaten Floyd Mayweather, not many names come to the forefront. However, back in the late 2000s, there was a welterweight who stood 6'2" in height and was 33-0 after dethroning Antonio Margarito to become world champion. That would be
Introducing Paul, the Punisher Williams.
Paul had dynamite in his hands and an absolute concrete jaw, and that was for all to see when he would avenge the only loss in his career to that date with a first round knockout of Carlos Quintana. Paul would continue his rise to the top of the sport by climbing through the divisions, by beating former undisputed light middleweight champion Winky Wright and then light middleweight champion Sergio Martinez, in which the two fighters would taste the canvas in their first meeting, after Sergio Martinez would capture the middleweight title against Kelly Pavlik in a fight that was originally intended for Williams until he would pull out through injury. Now, being up at middleweight, many saw this as the crowning night for Williams, until Sergio Martinez would land the knockout of the year against Williams, smashing the usually iron-chinned Williams in just the second round.
Williams through the left. Williams down.
He's not getting up, guys.
Not getting up.
That is the knockout of the year, if nothing else. A sensational, shocking, one-punch knockout of a normally iron-chinned, top-notch fighter.
The sport of boxing is such a brutal spectacle for all, which makes us all love boxing for what it is. Seeing our favourite fighter being viciously knocked out is something that will happen time after time, so who do you think will be the next fighter to succumb to this old age curse?